Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Gears 12 here, and we are continuing on in our Megadeth discography. Today we are looking at the third Megadeth release, entitled So Far, So Good, and So What. Now, if you're an avid follower of mine and you've seen my reviews before, I usually don't do this, but I wrote down some notes because I had to write down some key points that I wanted to make sure and bring across in this review so I don't forget anything, so that's why I wrote them down. So, two big things. Two big things about this album that really stands out is one, Jeff Young, the new lead guitarist, and number two, Chuck Behler on drums, the new drummer. So, yeah. The original four guys who were on Killing Is My Business, and then Peace Sells, the original four guys are not on this next record. Nope. We have two brand new guys, a new drummer and a new lead guitarist, and that is a huge change because you can just feel in this album. I could just feel how different it was to have two new band members in the band writing these songs. So, let's continue on. So, the cover is Anarchy in the UK, which, it's, if you're a Megadeth fan, it's either you love, like, or you hate the covers. And you're like thinking, okay, like, I hate this one. Am I going to like this one? Am I going to love this next one? Something like that. Well, for me, for all the covers that Megadeth have done so far as I'm doing this discography, Anarchy in the UK is just like all the other covers. I enjoy them, and they're fun to listen to, and it's always interesting to hear what Megadeth does, like their little spin or their little twist on these covers. So I enjoy them. So it gives me kind of a moment to cool down listening to the album. I can hear just a pretty fun cover. So the next song I decided to pull out of the track listing is In My Darkest Hour. I'm not going through the full track listing if you know that already, but in the description is the full track listing and the personnel. Anyways, back to In My Darkest Hour. I pulled this song out for two reasons. One, this song was written for Cliff Burton. If you don't know who Cliff Burton is, he was the bass player for Metallica. He died in 1986. Dave Mustaine knew Cliff, and he wrote the song about Cliff. That's the first main reason, is that Dave was in a weird place writing the lyrics for this, and you can just obviously tell, like, the lyrical content on this song is a lot different than the rest of the album. The second reason is, this song stands out because musically it's different from the rest of the album. For me, this song stands out the most than any of the other tracks, including the cover. This song has just a lot more variety going on, and this song really just spoke to me in ways. And to me, it's just the most interesting song to listen to on the whole entire record. It really is. That's just my personal opinion. The next song, which is the last song that I'm pulling out, talking about in this review, is the opener of the album, Into the Lungs of Hell, which is a instrumental track. Now, there's two reasons why I wanted to talk about it. Number one, it's a gripe, and it's the first few seconds of this whole entire album, which is the very first few seconds of this song. The guitar tone they used for this riff, that kind of starts out the whole album and kind of starts off this instrumental leading into the album, the guitar tone they chose is just irritating. It really bothers me. I hate it. So every time that I put this album on repeat, I would have to hear that for the first few seconds, and I swear, if it kept on going, I would stop the album. But I don't. I just cringe on through it. I don't know why. I just can't stand that guitar tone. I don't like it. It's not like the rest of the album. I just don't know why they did that. Why couldn't they just do clean guitar tone? But they did that weird thing, and I don't know why. It just annoys me. But the second thing is I want to talk about is that I like how it introduces the album. I like how it basically gives you the kind of feel of the production quality, the way that the kind of the writing style they're going to go with on this album. I know it's not really that much, but I like it. I like how this leads off into the album. I like it. So the next thing I want to talk about is the production, including the sound of the band members, and then we're going to go off into the songs, song structure-wise. Not all the songs, just talking about them in general, and then my final thoughts. So, production and the band sound. The production on this album is not as good as Peace Sells. That's the first thing I noticed after listening to this album about 2 or 3 good times, and then finally making that decision. The production quality on this album is not like Peace Sells. It's not as bad as Killing Is My Business, but it is definitely not Peace Sells quality. I'm not exactly sure what happened, because in some instances while I'm listening to the album and really focusing on the different parts of the band members going along, Dave's vocals, the guitar solo, the drums, the bass, the rhythm guitar, I'm noticing in some moments the production quality is pretty good. It's not like Peace Sells, but it's pretty good. But then there's other moments where I'm going, that's worse than that's worse than this song. The production quality on that section right there, it's not that great. Like there were just some opening riffs or riffs that were leading into another section of a song, just wasn't that great of production. I don't know what happened, if the mixing or something was going on, I'm not sure, but there was just some moments where it was pretty good, some moments where it was pretty bad, or just not as good as it was on this side of the good part of it. Just some a little bit mixed up. I'm not sure what was happening. That's the production side of it. And so let's go up to the band sound. Dave Mustaine and his vocals. So he's kind of doing the same thing that he was doing on Peace Sales. He kind of grew out of that phase of Killing Is My Business, discovering his vocals. At this point, he knows what he can do with his vocals. So he's kind of doing the same thing he was doing on Peace Sales. And, you know, that's fine and all. But it feels like to me, he was trying to add something in some sections on these songs. And it made me kind of question what he was trying to do, because there were some moments the way he would say certain words or like say a chorus in a certain way, it made me go kind of like, why is he doing that? It makes me think kind of like, I don't understand why he's doing that. Maybe he's trying to experiment or more or something, but there's some moments I don't like what he's doing with his vocals. The recording of his vocals are pretty good, but just some of the things he's trying to do with his voice didn't really match with what I expected, and it just made me feel kind of like, I don't know what he's doing, I'm just confused. So my final verdict on his vocals, they're good recording wise, and a lot of the phrases and a lot of his lyrical content and the way he does his voice is good, but there's some moments on, you know, certain tracks that it just doesn't sound right, and I just don't like it that much. To the guitar tone and the lead guitar tone. Guitar tone for the rhythm section is what you'd expect from a Megadeth album, or what you would expect from a Megadeth guitar tone. But the problem is, there's some tones, or some of the things that they're doing, like with the opener of the album, I didn't like. And there was just like, I don't know, just some of like the production quality, I guess, mixing in the guitars, I'm not sure. It didn't seem heavy. It didn't seem like what I heard on Peace Sales. It kind of seems dumbed down a little bit. So it was kind of hard to place. But, I mean, 95% of the album is what you'd expect from a guitar tone, heavy thrash sound. But there's some moments, So, the lead guitars, they're loud, they're crazy, and it's different because we have Jeff Young, okay? We have this new guy, and he is trying to step in the shoes of Chris Poland, and he's trying to, you know, do his best work. And he does pretty well, and the guitar tone sounds pretty good, but the fact is that he's not Chris Poland, and some of his guitar solos wasn't up to the standards that I've heard on previous records, but he gets the job done, just not the job that I wanted it to be done. To the bass sound, Dave Ellefson, you can hear the bass on this album. He's not really highlighted a lot on this album, which I don't like that. I wish they would have highlighted him more, but it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, his bass sound was pretty good. The drumming sound, so we have the other new guy, Chuck Behler. Hoping I'm saying his name right. The drum sound, like I said before on the guitar tone, it's what you'd expect from Megadeth, but it's not Gar. It's not Gar on the drums. But we have to give Chuck where the credit is due. He did get the job done, and he did do some pretty cool drum parts on the album. But at the same sense, I'm thinking to myself, if Gar was drumming on this album, he could make this album more interesting to me. Because what he did on Killing Is My Business and Peace Sales, drumming-wise, was amazing. But if he was on this album, maybe the drumming would be definitely better. And maybe I would have liked the album more. I don't know. But the fact is, Chuck did do a good job. He did what he had to do. But Gar, if it was him, it would have been better. So overall, my final thoughts on this album, and talking about the song-wise. The song structures on this album, what you'd expect from Megadeth. There's a lot of heavy moments, a lot of fast moments. So there's a lot of variety of what you got on Peace Sales, because we got the groovy stuff. And you get that on this album too, and you get the fast thrashness that we heard on Killing Is My Business and Peace Sales. But I just feel like some of the riffs on this album just did not live up to the capability of the other riffs in the song. Like if you took out, all the riffs of an individual song and placed them in a row, there was always one riff in each song that don't live up to the expectations of the other riffs in the same song. There's always that one riff that just didn't appeal to me as much as the other ones did. So song structure wise, it's kind of what you'd expect from Megadeth, from Peace Sales. But there's some moments on this album where it just wasn't as good. So that's what happened wise. The song structures, like I said, same as Peace Sells, just some of the stuff that were put into the songs I don't necessarily agree with. So overall, my actual final thoughts on this whole album is that it had the potential to be better. Maybe we didn't want it to be better than Peace Sells, because that was the album that really took them to their popularity. But I think this album had potential to be better than what it was, what it actually came out to, because I look around and there's not a lot of Megadeth fans that'll talk about this album. And if they do, maybe it's like one or two songs, In My Darkest Hour and maybe another one. But other than that, this album is basically ignored, and I kind of see why. It's not as amazing as Peace Sells, but at the same sense, it does have some great songs, but it's not a Peace Sells Part 2. And for some of the production quality, some of the song structures didn't live up to the capability of what they could have been. They could have been better. It could have been a better produced album. It could have been a better song written album. The song structures could have been better. The riffs could have been, faster and crazier. They could have did something to improve what this album is. But this album is what it is. It's a Megadeth record, and it has good moments, but there's also bad moments. So my final verdict is a 7.5 out of 10. It would be an 8 or above if maybe we had the full 4 guys. Maybe the songwriting would have been a little bit better. But that's my opinion, guys. So if you like my opinion and you like the video, like the video. And if you like me and you like what I do, subscribe for more metal videos. And I will see you guys soon.